So day 6 now. It's a little bit loud. You'll notice I'm also wearing the same shirt as yesterday because I crashed on my friend's couch after drinking kind of late, and I haven't been home yet. But yeah, this time I was actually talking with a friend about a concept, and so I kind of wanted to, I guess, talk about that in a video. That's kind of the line between reality and what people are necessarily ready for to hear whenever it comes to functioning in reality, or at least reality, right? So we were kind of talking about this overall idea that most of the things that you can contemplate about the nature of reality, what's real and all of that, can be somewhat of a thing, if you're delving too deep into it, that can kind of basically potentially drive a person into being in kind of like psychosis, pretty much, right? And that's because, in reality, the things that we can measure with science, there hits a limit of questions we can answer about the nature of reality itself, including ideas of is reality like just a hologram? Like, is anything actually real? Like, is anyone else real? Are you the only one who's real, right? Like an idea of solipsism, where you don't know that everything isn't just all in your head and that you're just making everything up, right? Like, think of like people who would typically think of as like delusional, right? They would be like, tripping out on their own like reality they're living in, and like imagining this world that is not the one that us as outsiders are experiencing or can see. But like they're like really convinced that their reality is the real one, and whatever you're saying is just a bunch of bullshit meant to like distract them, or to like intentionally try and cause harm to them or something, And the thing is while we can, from our perspective as people living in not that reality, whatever they're perceiving, we can at least say for our perception of reality that is totally incongruent, right? But, putting yourself in those shoes as the person who's like, experiencing whatever it is you're experiencing, like how can you differentiate like what's real, what's the valid one, which one is the fake and trying to delude you? I think that's something maybe a lot of people don't actually consider as much. Like, it's, I think, kind of easy to kind of like pathologize people and be like, oh well, you're just insane and I'm not going to worry about you. Like, go to a psychiatric hospital and don't bother me. But like, really considering it, we don't know how reality might change outside of what we can measure, you know what I mean, right? Like, we have physical evidence for things. How do you prove that, like, even this exact moment that you're alive, that you weren't just spawned in with these memories like 2 seconds ago, and that everything else before that was like a false memory? Like, how do you prove that? And you can't. It's like not really provable. It's outside of what you can really test with science, So I guess that kind of comes to this thing where it's like, these are ideas that are like genuinely like real considerations. Maybe you think it's just like pondering ideas for the sake of pondering them, but really, like, that could genuinely be what has happened. Reality could also be this big hologram, and you're just imagining everything, and everything that exists is all in your head. Everyone else might be like NPCs meant to like fool you into thinking that there's any other consciousness outside yourself, right? But the problem, I guess, is like, just telling that to people and like masses and stuff, is it's like a lot of people probably aren't going to handle that well. And then, the idea of just pondering what might be true comes also to what you should do about it. Now, from my perspective, if everything's fake, then I guess it doesn't matter anyway. But if it's not fake, then I don't want to cause, like, even like playing video games, right? Like, I don't like causing pain to literal characters in a game either, because it's like, I'm trying, like, a part of it is, like, also, like, I guess in a story sense, like, I want to experience a life of cooperation and working with people, whether it's fake or not, honestly, you know, like, it doesn't feel good, to me at least, to just needlessly cause suffering. Although, you know, the psychology of when we enjoy seeing suffering is also its own good topic for a video, honestly. But yeah, man, it's a really interesting thing, because there's always seemed to be kind of these, like, dichotomies to me of between, like, especially whenever it comes to political stuff, almost, of, like, what is real about what we can understand about society as a whole, and what is useful messaging for delivering to masses, you know? Like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, you want to just believe that, like, you know, you can just say whatever is true and people will handle it well, but in reality, I don't think that's always true, honestly. It takes a lot of, like, I think being able to ground yourself to not kind of lose your floaties a bit sometimes, and delving too much into, like, honestly, like, really existentially dreadful concepts, right? Like the concept of, like, is there an afterlife? Are there souls? Or are we just, like, hallucinating an experience of consciousness, and we're all just, like, deterministic meat puppets, basically, right? With electric soup in our heads, causing us to just do random shit, and we think that we have agency, but we don't, you know? I've got other, like, ideas of, you know, kind of metaphysical ideas on that too, but that's probably more for another video. I probably touched on it a bit last time, at least some concepts, but I did, yeah, I remember that now. But, you know, a lot of things you just either can't know, or, you know, whenever it comes also to, like, acknowledging, like, the reality of, like, how bleak a lot of odds are in a lot of situations, like, that's a very debilitating thing too, a lot of times. Like, there's literally, like, active research that shows a lot of times being a little bit delusional about your odds of how likely you are to succeed at something helps you achieve more than whenever you're more realistic about your likelihood of being able to do something. Because a lot of times odds really are pretty against you on things, but, you know, a bit of a survivorship bias. The people who succeed are the people who tried anyway, a lot of the times. Not always, you know, people also just stumble into things and things just work out for them, or things were entirely, you know, no effort on their part. But a lot of times it's a bit of a combination of both actively seeking something out and also getting lucky, you know? But if you're not trying to seize wherever that luck is, and also if, you know, a lot of times you have to act before you know your luck is paying off, you know? And there can also genuinely be real risks with trying shit, you know, and having it not pay off. Like, you don't get lucky, and then you actually suffer consequences for having tried too. Like, that's also a part of reality, but, like, we gotta try things too, you know? All of life is gambling at the end of the day, you know? Yeah, that's another one that's, like, I feel is kind of true, but, you know, maybe isn't the best message to give to everybody. You know, a lot of, you know, just acknowledging reality sometimes can be very pessimistic feeling and doomer-core. There's definitely also a lot of opportunity for things to go right, but, like, the real risk of trying are also really there. I feel like even making these videos is a risk, honestly, you know? Like, I don't know, it's just like, at the end of the day, though, I gotta do something. If I just live in a box and don't try anything, I feel like that's basically as good as being dead anyway. Maybe not totally, maybe I'd regret saying that, depending on how things go, but I don't know. Suspending some delusion is sometimes good a little bit, I guess. You wanna be rational enough to not just needlessly jump into risk that screws you, but, you know, maybe just a little bit out of reality enough that you do things just to try them and see what happens, because a lot of the most beautiful things come from trying shit that honestly probably shouldn't have worked. Yeah, I don't know. It's something worth thinking about, I think. But isn't everything. It is raining also, so I'm trying to not get too distracted here. But, yeah, man. It's a weird dichotomy, a lot of things of everything's also kind of just paradoxical. Like, what I mean by that is that things kind of exist almost unlike real dichotomies of this or that, but yet also in reality you have to find ways of balancing both, despite them being in contradiction to each other. Yeah, reality's weird, man. Lots of different things that could be how the world is that are just kind of outside of our grasp. And I want to touch more on, maybe in the next episode I might even talk about this, is kind of the idea of the universe itself basically being a story wanting to be told. So that's kind of a sneak peek of something I want to talk about at least at some point, even if I don't tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows anything, right? I'm staying a little bit closer to the 10 minutes this time, but I think this is a good wrapping up spot for this one. So I'll see you tomorrow.